Friends, our story today is about a brave soldier who got stuck in Singapore during World War II. We know that war never benefits anyone, and that is why we try our best to avoid it in today's time. Well, now will this soldier be able to save his life in the middle of a war in an unknown country? Will he be able to reach his people, or will the people of the enemy territory capture him? We will know all this in our story today. So the story begins in Singapore in February, where bomb blasts are taking place everywhere, or we are shown a war scene where smoke is rising from all over the jungle. In the same dense jungle, we see a man named Jim hanging from a tree with the help of a parachute. Actually, Jim was a flight lieutenant of the Royal Australian Air Force whose aircraft was shot down, and that is why it fell into the jungle. When Jim opens his eyes, he tries to free himself because the Japanese petrol people are searching for him, and he can see them all right in front of his eyes. He had come to guarantee that no one survives the plane crash. Jim, with great difficulty, gets out of the parachute and runs inside the forest so that the people cannot see him. On the way, he crosses many muddy places where he was having a lot of difficulty in walking. But being a soldier, it was not a big deal for him. They are also given training for this thing. Well, now he could see bomb blasts and Japanese patrolling people everywhere from whom he was trying to escape with great difficulty. He himself was also quite injured. But now he was only worried about somehow getting out of there and reaching his people. He brought some things from that parachute so that if something happens to him on the way, he can use them. After going some distance, he checks those things which did not contain anything of particular use. And then he moves forward. He kept an eye on everything that could pose a threat to him. He was paying attention to even the smallest sound coming from the forest. After walking some distance, he sees a place with clean water where he washes his face, and also stores some water so that he can drink it. He is unable to understand whether the path he is following is correct or not, because he does not have any tracking device at that time. But due to not having any other option, he keeps walking. Moving forward like this, it becomes evening now, but Jim is still walking without stopping. After going some distance, he did not see many stickers which were of the flag of any country. Well, now was not the time for all this, so I started going back on my way. After some time it became night. Darkness started engulfing the whole forest. There was a deserted road everywhere, but then once again a convoy of Japanese petrol started coming behind the Jim. But when one of their soldiers escapes from Jim finds out that he was not a Japanese soldier but a Chinese soldier, and he is running away to save his life. Jim tells him that his plane crashed, after which both of them hide there. Until the Japanese leaves from there, Jin has now found each other. Both of them start running together because the Japanese were still chasing them. That man was actually a Dial Force guerrilla, who was a Chinese fighter. After the Japanese people left, they started asking each other about weapons, but neither of them had any special weapon with which they could fight them. Dial Force was separated from its unit, and due to this it is also stuck there. Both of them cannot understand each other's language. That is why they were facing more difficulties, and even after this, they decide to leave from there together, because both of them were in the same condition. Jim gives some food to Dial Force which he had brought with him because he knows that they might be hungry for a long time. Then suddenly, Dial Force finds the dead body of one of its comrades, seeing which it starts crying. Losing your friend in the war is not a common thing. Nobody wants to be separated from their loved ones, but the principles of war are like this. In war, someone's blood has to be shed. Anyway, the story moves forward, and Jim notices that some people are coming towards him. Then from somewhere far away, the sound of a gunfight starts coming, and at the same time, Dial Force falls unconscious, because he had been shot in his upper domain, which causes a big wound there. Seeing this, Jim helps him and takes out that bullet from his body and starts putting stent there, but this process was very painful. Actually, it was a kind of minor surgery, due to which Jim covers his mouth, because if he says anything, then they will get caught. Dial Force was in so much pain that he could not bear it and he faints. Seeing him unconscious, Jim checks his breathing, but it was still going on, after which Jim starts keeping an eye on everything. Slowly that dark night was coming to an end, and the sun's rays start to appear. But because of the dense forest, it was still a little dark. Then suddenly some insects attack Jim's hand. He is about to scream in pain when dial force catches his mouth because a patrolling team was passing by at that time. As soon as the patrolling team leaves from there, Jim immediately gets up and removes those nails because they were stuck to his body very badly. After all this, they sat behind a tree, where after resting for a while, they started walking again. Dial force was not able to do much work due to his injury, but Jim was helping him at every step. Then suddenly a big bomb blast took place, and they heard the voices of some soldiers, who were saying that they were around here. On hearing all this, Jim hid there with dial force, where both of them sat for a long time. Now bomb blasts were taking place everywhere, the light of which was falling on their faces again and again. The light of that blast was burning in their hearts. They were creating more darkness inside. After some time, G-Punch collects some water and brings it because it is possible that they might need it somewhere because they don't know how much time they have to spend in the forest. Both of them start thinking whether they will be able to survive or not. Then Jim comes to dial force and gives him some water to drink because his condition is getting worse than before. He has already lost a lot of blood due to which he has become very weak. At the same time, dial force takes out some of Jim's stuff from his pant. Actually, to tie a bandage on his leg. Jim had torn his pant from one side and tied it on dial force's back. Then dial force finds a photo. When he gives it to Jim, he starts crying after seeing it because that photo was of his wife. Seeing her, he starts remembering the moments he spent with his wife and gets very emotional. If there was someone else in Jim's place, he would have thought the same. Probably every soldier who goes to fight in the war, his story is the same. Every person who is martyred for the country, he too would cry for his family. Because everyone misses the family. No parent wants to see the dead body of their children, but when there is a war, who knows how many innocent people die in it, and the soldier has to die in it, even if he doesn't want to. The story moves forward, and Jim wakes up after seeing his beautiful dream. He sees that it is morning, and then dial force, and they introduce themselves to each other, because they had not even asked each other's name yet. Dial force was speaking with great difficulty. Then suddenly both of them get shocked, because now Japanese soldiers had reached there, and both of them are caught. Both look into each other's eyes, and understand that this is their last moment. The soldiers take both of them on different paths. Now both of them were very scared. Jim felt very bad for his friend. He feels this because he might never see him again. As they are taken from the gym, he hears the sound of a gunshot, and he understands that his friend is no more. He starts crying, knowing that his end is near. But here, friends, the opposite happens. The Japanese soldiers put Jim in a truck and send him away. They did not kill Jim. Now we don't know why they did this. But from here, the scene shifts, and we find Jim standing in a field in Australia, which is probably his hometown, and then we hear some strange sounds. Jim has not been able to forget that moment and his friend even today. And he will probably never forget it, because war is like this. This whole story tries to show us how a soldier feels when he gets stranded among the enemies in a war. An attempt has been made to show the fear inside him. What is the life of a soldier like in such situations? You can get an idea by watching it. How did you like the story? Please tell us by commenting. See you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.